The Zeroth system glowed, an ominous crimson on the navigation display, as Captain Maya Reyes studied the trajectory calculations for what felt like the 100th time. Floating in the command bridge of Terran Outpost Delta, she felt the weight of responsibility bearing down on her shoulders. This mission represented humanity's first venture into this particular corner of wild space, a region dominated by the so-called Deathworlders, massive reptilian beings who had earned their name through centuries of unchallenged dominance. "Final system checks complete, Captain," reported Lieutenant Amina Sol from her tactical station. "All systems nominal for planetary approach." Maya nodded her dark eyes, never leaving the holographic display of Zeroth's violent surface. Storms of ash and lightning danced across the planet's atmosphere, promising a welcome as hostile as its inhabitants. "Dr. Han, your assessment," Maya called out. Dr. Leo Han, the expedition's lead xenobiologist, brought up a separate display showing preliminary atmospheric readings. His slender fingers traced patterns in the data as he spoke. "Breathable with filtration, Captain, but only just. The volcanic activity has saturated lower atmospheric layers with sulfur compounds. Our suits should handle it, but extended exposure would be problematic." Maya absorbed this information with a grim nod. Intelligence briefings had been clear. No previous exploration team had survived longer than 48 hours on Zeroth's surface. The Deathworlders took pride in this record, considering it proof of their apex status among galactic species. "The Council expects us to establish preliminary diplomatic contact and assess resource viability," Maya reminded her team. "But our primary mission remains survival and data collection. I won't lose anyone to misplaced heroics." Around her, the 20-member crew of elite scientists and security personnel finished their preparations in disciplined silence. They represented Earth's finest, veterans of expeditions to other hostile worlds, though none quite with Zeroth's lethal reputation. "Captain," called Communications Officer Park, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's unusual." "On screen," Maya ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the massive-scaled visage of a Deathworlder. Nearly 3 meters tall with armored plates along its spine and jaw, the being's vertical pupils contracted as it studied the humans. "Terrence," the translator, rendered its sibilant speech. "Your arrival was as predicted. Your departure will be swift." The creature's mouth opened in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of serrated teeth. "None survive Zeroth beyond 2 rotations. We shall observe your attempts with interest." The transmission cut abruptly, leaving the bridge in uncomfortable silence. "Well," Maya said, straightening her uniform, "at least we know they're expecting us." She turned to address her crew. "Departure in 30 minutes. First landing team Dr. Han, Lieutenant Sol, Security Detail Alpha. Let's prove these lizards wrong." As her team dispersed to final preparations, Maya gazed once more at the angry red planet on the display. Something about the Deathworlders' confidence unsettled her. It wasn't mere arrogance, it was absolute certainty. And in Maya's experience, such certainty usually had foundations. The descent to Zeroth's surface was surprisingly smooth, given the turbulent atmospheric conditions. Maya piloted the landing craft herself, threading between towering ash plumes with practiced precision. The craft's hull groaned under the strain of entry, but held firm as they broke through the cloud layer and beheld Zeroth's surface for the first time. "Mother of stars," breathed Dr. Han from the co-pilot seat. Below them stretched a landscape of stark, alien beauty. Vast plains of black volcanic glass reflected the crimson light of Zeroth's distant sun. Mountain ranges of sharp obsidian rose like teeth from the plains, while rivers of molten material carved glowing veins across the terrain. In the distance, massive spires that might have been natural formations or ancient structures pierced the ash-laden sky. "Radiation levels acceptable," reported Lieutenant Sol. "Atmospheric composition within tolerance range. Surface temperature high, but within our equipment parameters." Maya guided the craft toward a relatively flat plateau, near one of the more prominent geological formations. As they approached, her tactical display suddenly flared with warnings. "Movement detected," Sol called out, her voice tense. "Multiple signatures, massive scale. Captain, there—" Before she could finish, the signatures vanished from the sensors as quickly as they had appeared. "System malfunction." Maya asked, her hands never leaving the controls. Sol shook her head, her expression puzzled. "Negative. They were there then. Nothing. As if they simply disappeared. Or as if they didn't want to be seen," Dr. Han suggested quietly. Maya's instincts screamed danger, but they were committed now. With expert precision, she landed the craft on the Obsidian Plateau, becoming the first human vessel to successfully touch down on Zeroth. "Establish perimeter," she ordered as the landing ramp descended. "Full sensor sweep, continuous monitoring. Nothing moves without us knowing about it." The security team deployed with practiced efficiency, setting up portable shield generators and sensor arrays around the landing site. Dr. Han and his scientific team began collecting initial samples of Zeroth's soil and atmosphere, their movements cautious but methodical. Maya stepped onto the planet's surface, her boots crunching on the glassy terrain. Through her helmet's visor, she observed the alien landscape with both wonder and wariness. Years of exploration had taught her that beauty and danger often walked hand in hand on frontier worlds. "Captain," called Dr. Han, "you need to see this." Maya approached the xenobiologist, who was examining what appeared to be a massive footprint in the obsidian surface, partially melted and refrozen. "Size estimation?" she asked. "At least 4 meters in stride length," Han replied. "Whatever made this is substantially larger than the Deathworlder we saw in transmission." Maya frowned. "And yet no attack on landing. They knew we were coming down." "Perhaps they're studying us," Han suggested. "Learning our capabilities before engaging." "Or waiting for us to lower our guard," Maya countered. She activated her comlink. "All personnel maintain alert status. I want weapons charged and sensors at maximum sensitivity." As the first day on Zeroth progressed, the landing team established a temporary base camp, complete with environmental shields and defensive perimeters. Solar collectors deployed to harness the weak light of Zeroth's distant sun, while automated drones patrolled the immediate vicinity. Dr. Han's team made several fascinating discoveries. The soil samples revealed unique microbial life forms capable of withstanding extreme heat and radiation. More intriguing were the traces of advanced metallic alloys found embedded in what appeared to be natural rock formations. "These aren't natural," Han explained, as he showed Maya the findings. "They're remnants of technology, possibly weapons or tools, and they contain isotopic signatures similar to our own FTL drive components." "Previous explorers?" Maya asked. Han shook his head. "The degradation suggests these are far older than any known contact with this system. Captain, I believe the Deathworlders may have had access to faster-than-light technology in their past." This revelation was troubling. If the Deathworlders once possessed such advanced technology, what else might they be capable of? And why had they apparently regressed, or at least hidden their capabilities from the galactic community? As twilight descended on Zeroth, casting long shadows across the obsidian plains, Maya ordered the security perimeter tightened. Lieutenant Sol coordinated the defensive arrangements, placing motion sensors and automated turrets at strategic points around the camp. "Something doesn't feel right," Sol told Maya as they reviewed the security feeds. "We've detected massive life signs at the edge of our sensor range, but they never approach. It's as if they're testing our detection capabilities." Maya nodded. "Keep the team on rotating watch schedules. 4 hours on, 4 off. I want fresh eyes monitoring at all times." That night, as most of the team rested in the environmentally controlled habitat modules, Maya stood watch at the perimeter, gazing out across the darkened landscape. Occasional flashes of lightning illuminated the distant mountains, revealing momentary glimpses of movement among the peaks. Something was out there watching them. She could feel it. Her communicator crackled suddenly. "Captain," came Dr. Hand's excited voice. "I've made a discovery about the biological samples. You need to see this immediately." Maya made her way to the science module, where Han was hunched over a sophisticated microscope setup. Without looking up, he gestured for her to view the display screen. "Watch what happens when I introduce this specific frequency of light," he said, adjusting a control. On the screen, what had appeared to be ordinary rock suddenly revealed complex cellular structures pulsing with life. Optical camouflage. Maya asked, her mind racing with implications. "More sophisticated than that," Han replied. "It's a form of biological cloaking. These microorganisms can bend light around themselves at will, and they're present in all our samples from the surface." Maya's blood ran cold as understanding dawned. "You're saying the entire planet is cloaked?" "Not the planet itself," Han clarified, "but potentially any life form that incorporates these organisms. Captain, I believe this is how the Deathworlders hunt. They're literally invisible until they choose to be seen." Before Maya could fully process this alarming information, alarms blared throughout the camp. Lieutenant Saul's voice came through on the emergency channel. "Perimeter breach, multiple contacts, Sector 7. Maya rushed from the science module, drawing her sidearm as she ran. The night air of Zeroth filtered through her helmet, tasted of sulfur and ozone as she reached the perimeter defenses. The scene before her was chaos. Something massive had smashed through one of the portable shield generators, leaving it a smoking ruin. Security personnel fired energy weapons at seemingly empty air, their shots occasionally revealing flickering glimpses of enormous, scaled forms. "Thermal imaging," Maya shouted to Saul, who was coordinating the defense from a nearby position. "Ineffective," Saul called back. "Their body temperature matches the ambient environment too closely." Maya thought quickly, recalling Han's discovery. "Modulate weapons to frequency Delta 6, she ordered. "That should disrupt their camouflage." As the security team adjusted their weapons, the attackers suddenly became visible. 4 massive Deathworlders each, nearly 5 meters tall, their armored scales gleaming in the emergency lights. They moved with surprising grace, for creatures of such size, their clawed hands wielding what appeared to be crude but effective weapons. "Defensive formation Beta." Maya commanded, falling back to a more defensible position as the creatures advanced. The security team responded with disciplined precision, laying down coordinated fire that forced the Deathworlders to seek cover. One of the creatures, however, broke through the line, charging directly at Maya with frightening speed. Time seemed to slow as Maya raised her weapon, targeting the creature's less armored throat region. She fired 3 rapid bursts, the energy pulses striking with pinpoint accuracy. The Deathworlder stumbled, its charge faltering, but momentum carried it forward. Maya dove aside at the last possible moment, the creature's massive bulk crashing into the equipment behind her. As it struggled to rise disoriented from the impact, Maya fired again, this time at what appeared to be sensory organs along its spine. The creature convulsed once, then collapsed into stillness. The remaining attackers, seeing their companion fall, retreated into the darkness beyond the camp's lights, their forms shifting back into invisibility as they fled. "Casualties," Maya demanded, scanning the aftermath of the brief but violent encounter. 2 injured, none critical, Saul reported. "Equipment damage to Sectors 7 and 8. Shield Generator 3 is offline." Maya nodded grimly. "Double the watch rotation. And I want Dr. Han to examine that," she said, gesturing to the fallen Deathworlder. The attack, while concerning, had revealed valuable information. The Deathworlders were formidable, but not invincible. Their biological camouflage could be countered with the right technology. And most importantly, they seemed to be testing the humans, rather than mounting a full-scale assault. As dawn broke over Zeroth, painting the obsidian landscape in shades of crimson and amber, Maya convened a strategy meeting with her senior staff. The fallen Deathworlder had been moved to a secure containment area for Dr. Hand's examination, while Lieutenant Saul had overseen repairs to the damaged perimeter. They were scouts, Saul reported. Probing our defenses, testing our capabilities. The main force is still out there watching. Maya nodded. Dr. Han, what have you learned from our visitor? Han's expression was one of mingled fascination and concern. The biological camouflage is even more sophisticated than I initially thought. It's not just passive concealment. It's an active process that can be consciously controlled. And there's something else. He brought up a holographic display showing scans of the creature's brain. Neural activity consistent with advanced intelligence, possibly even telepathic capabilities. These aren't mindless predators, Captain. They're strategists. Maya considered this information carefully. Lieutenant Saul, adjust our defensive protocols accordingly. I want contingencies for telepathic interference with our communications. As the meeting continued, Maya found her attention drawn to something Dr. Han had mentioned earlier. The traces of FTL technology found in the soil samples. An idea began to form in her mind. Dr. Han, those technological fragments you found, could they be related to actual FTL drives, perhaps remnants of crashed ships? Han considered this. Possible. The composition is certainly consistent with modern FTL modulation systems. And if the Deathworlders have been collecting and studying this technology, Maya's thoughts raced ahead. They might have developed countermeasures specific to standard FTL configurations, which would explain why no previous expedition has been able to escape once they've landed. Saul finished understanding dawning in her eyes. Maya nodded. I need to return to the outpost. If there's a chance our FTL systems could be compromised, we need to implement modifications before any escape attempt becomes necessary. Her return to Terran Outpost Delta was uneventful, the Deathworlders seemingly content to focus their attention on the surface team for now. In the outpost's engineering section, Maya worked alongside the technical specialists to analyze the potential vulnerabilities in their FTL systems. Here, said Chief Engineer Rodriguez, pointing to a particular component. If they've studied crashed ships, they'd know this resonance chamber is universal to all standard Terran FTL drives. A specific disruption field could render it inoperable. Maya nodded. Can we modify it? Rodriguez grinned. Already working on it, Captain. We're implementing a multi-phase modulation that should resist any known form of interference. As the engineering team worked, Maya received an urgent communication from the surface. Lieutenant Saul's face appeared on the screen, her expression tense. Captain, we've detected massive movement in Sector 12. Multiple Deathworlder signatures, but something's different. They appear to be fighting each other. Maya frowned. Explain. Two distinct groups, Saul elaborated. Different coloration patterns on their scales, different weapons. One group seems to be pursuing the other toward our position. This was unexpected. The intelligence briefings had made no mention of factionalism among the Deathworlders. Maintain defensive positions, Maya ordered. Do not engage unless directly threatened. I'm returning immediately. By the time Maya's shuttle touched down at the base camp, the situation had escalated. From the elevated position of the landing platform, she could see flashes of energy weapons in the distance, illuminating briefly the massive forms of Deathworlders locked in combat. Report, she demanded as Saul met her at the shuttle. The smaller group is being driven this way, Saul explained. They're outnumbered and outgunned. From what we can observe, there appears to be a significant ideological divide. The pursuing group seems more aggressive, using what Dr. Han believes are modified versions of salvage technology. As they watched, one of the retreating Deathworlders broke from cover, making a desperate dash toward the human camp. Energy blasts from the pursuers struck around it, shattering the obsidian ground. The creature stumbled, clearly wounded, but continued its desperate approach. It's trying to reach us, Maya realized. It's seeking asylum. A decision point. Protocol dictated non-interference in internal conflicts of non-aligned species. But something about the desperation of the fleeing Deathworlder struck a chord with Maya. This wasn't simply a predator. It was a sentient being facing execution. Cover fire, she ordered suddenly. Target the pursuers only. Give it a chance to reach our perimeter. Saul hesitated only briefly before relaying the commands. The camp's defensive turrets pivoted, unleashing a barrage of precisely calculated energy pulses that forced the pursuing Deathworlders to seek cover. The wounded Deathworlder, seizing the opportunity, made a final lunge toward the human perimeter, collapsing just inside the shield boundary. Maya approached cautiously, her sidearm ready, but not raised threateningly. The creature was massive up close, easily 3 times her height even in its crouched position. Its scales, a deep bronze color, with iridescent highlights, were marred by energy weapon burns. One massive eye fixed on Maya, the vertical pupil contracting in the camp's bright lights. "You intervened," the translator rendered its labored speech. "Unexpected." "We don't typically abandon those seeking help," Maya replied, maintaining a cautious distance. "Who are you? What's happening here?" The Deathworlder struggled to a more dignified posture, though clearly still in pain. "I am Thrax, commander of the Blightclaw clan. Those," it gestured toward the distant attackers, "are Iron Scale. They seek dominance through elimination of all outside influence, including those of us who believe coexistence is possible." Maya processed this revelation. Factionalism among the Deathworlders changed everything about their mission parameters. These Iron Scale, they're responsible for the attacks on previous expeditions. Thrax made a sound that the translator didn't catch, but seemed like confirmation. "They believe outsiders weaken our world. Blightclaw sees opportunity in exchange. We have been at disagreement for generations." Before Maya could respond further, Dr. Hahn approached, medical scanner in hand. "Captain, it's seriously wounded. Without treatment." Maya made another split-second decision. "Treat it. Full medical protocols." As Dr. Hahn began administering emergency treatment to the wounded Deathworlder, Maya returned her attention to the distant Iron Scale forces. They had ceased their advance but maintained positions just beyond effective weapons range. "They're consolidating," Lieutenant Saul observed. "Preparing for a more coordinated assault, I'd wager." Maya nodded grimly. "Strengthen our perimeter. I want continuous sensor sweeps for their biological camouflage signatures, and prepare the shuttle for potential emergency evacuation." Over the next hours, as Thrax received treatment in the camp's medical facility, Maya learned more about the complex political situation on Zeroth. The Blightclaw faction, it seemed, had long advocated for cautious engagement with other species, believing that isolation had led to their civilization's technological stagnation. The Iron Scale conversely viewed all outsiders as threats to be eliminated, and had grown increasingly militant in recent decades. "They possess technology salvaged from your previous expeditions." Thrax explained, its massive form incongruous in the human-sized medical bay. "Weapons, communications, and parts of what you call FTL drives, which they've used to ensure no one leaves to report back," Maya concluded. Thrax made a gesture of confirmation. "They believe if they can prevent successful contact, other species will eventually abandon attempts to reach Zeroth, leaving them in unchallenged dominance." Maya considered this information carefully. "And your faction? What do the Blightclaw want from this encounter?" Thrax's massive eyes fixed on her with unsettling intensity. "Survival. Exchange of knowledge. The Iron Scale grows stronger with each failed expedition they destroy. If they eliminate us, there will be no voice for cooperation left on Zeroth. A temporary alliance, then, born of mutual necessity." Maya didn't fully trust the enormous predator before her, but pragmatism dictated cooperation against the greater threat. "We need to neutralize their FTL disruption technology," she told Thrax. "Without secure escape routes, we're all vulnerable." Thrax straightened to its full height, towering over Maya. "I can guide you to their weapons facility. It lies beneath the western ridge in caverns of ancient making." Maya felt the weight of command pressing heavily on her shoulders. Protocol explicitly forbade deep involvement in local political conflicts. But Protocol had never envisioned a situation quite like this. If the Iron Scale succeeded in eliminating both the human expedition and their Blightclaw allies, the next Terran mission would face even greater dangers, with no potential allies remaining on the surface. "Lieutenant Saul," she called, having made her decision. "Prepare a strike team. Minimal personnel, maximum firepower. We're going to hit the iron-scale weapons facility." Saul's expression registered brief surprise before settling into professional determination. "Yes, Captain. Timeline. As soon as Thrax is fit to travel, we'll need its knowledge of the terrain and facility layout." As preparations for the strike mission progressed, Maya faced another challenge. A communication arrived from Terran Command expressing concern over the extended surface presence and unexpected alliance with native lifeforms. "Captain Reyes." The stern face of Admiral Kendrick filled the communication screen. "Your mission parameters were explicit. Observation and preliminary contact only. This intervention in local politics exceeds your authority." Maya stood firm. "With respect, Admiral, the situation has evolved beyond original intelligence assessments. We've discovered a factional conflict that directly impacts Earth's strategic interests in this sector." The Admiral's expression remained skeptical. "Explain how tribal conflicts among primitives constitute a strategic concern." Maya felt a flash of anger at the dismissive characterization, but maintained her professional demeanor. "These primitives, sir, have been systematically destroying our expeditions and salvaging our technology. The Ironscale faction is developing countermeasures specifically designed to neutralize Terran capabilities. If they succeed in eliminating the more cooperative Blightclaw faction, we will have no allies on this world in future engagements." There was a long pause as the Admiral considered this information. "Your orders remain unchanged, Captain. Disengage from local conflicts and prepare for withdrawal." Maya took a deep breath. "Sir, with the greatest respect, withdrawal at this juncture would leave the Ironscale in possession of disruption technology capable of disabling our FTL systems. We would be exposed during retreat. I cannot in good conscience endanger my crew in this manner." The Admiral's expression hardened. "This conversation will be continued upon your return, Captain. Kendrick out." The communication ended abruptly, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts. She had effectively chosen to disobey a direct order, risking her career, and possibly more. But the alternative, abandoning allies and leaving dangerous technology in hostile hands, was unacceptable. Lieutenant Saul found her still standing in the communications module. "Orders, Captain!" Maya turned her decision made. "Proceed as planned. Strike team deploys in 60 minutes. The journey to the Ironscale weapons facility was tense, but uneventful. Guided by Thrax, whose massive form moved with surprising stealth through the obsidian landscape, the human strike team navigated terrain that would have been nearly impossible to traverse without local knowledge. "Their sensors are primitive by your standards," Thrax explained, as they approached a massive ridge of black glass. "But they are integrated with our biological camouflage. Traditional detection methods will fail." Maya nodded. Dr. Hahn provided countermeasures based on his analysis. "We should remain undetected if we maintain disciplined movement patterns." The weapons facility itself was impressive. A sprawling complex built into the side of a dormant volcano, its entrance disguised to blend perfectly with the surrounding rock. Had Thrax not pointed it out, Maya would have walked past without noticing it. "Their main defense is secrecy," Thrax explained. "Few outside the Ironscale leadership know this place exists." Maya studied the entrance through enhanced optics. "Guard patterns. Minimal. As I said, secrecy is their primary defense." The strike team, consisting of Maya, Lieutenant Saul, 6 security specialists, and Thrax, approached the entrance using a leapfrog pattern that minimized their exposure. Dr. Hahn had remained at the base camp coordinating remote sensor data to alert them to any approaching Ironscale forces. "Entrance secured," reported Saul, after a brief but intense exchange of fire with the surprised guards. "Minimal resistance encountered." Maya nodded. "Maintain perimeter security. Thrax, lead us to the FTL disruption technology." The interior of the facility was a strange blend of scavenged Terran technology and native Deathworlder construction. Massive corridors clearly designed for the larger Deathworlders opened into chambers filled with equipment that Maya recognized as modified components from previous Earth expeditions. They've been studying us for decades, she realized aloud, learning our weaknesses, adapting our own technology against us. Thrax made a sound that the translator rendered as grim acknowledgement. The Iron Scale believed technological adaptation is acceptable, so long as it serves to maintain isolation. They are selectively principled. As they penetrated deeper into the facility, resistance increased. Iron Scale warriors, their massive forms shifting in and out of visibility, thanks to their biological camouflage, defended key junctions with ferocious determination. The human team's specialized weapons, however, proved effective at disrupting the camouflage, giving them a crucial advantage in the close-quarters combat. Finally, they reached what appeared to be the central laboratory. Inside, enormous pieces of machinery hummed with ominous energy, centered around what Maya immediately recognized as a modified FTL resonance chamber, the key component that allowed faster-than-light travel. They've inverted it, she realized, studying the modifications. Created a disruption field that targets the exact frequency our drives operate on. Lieutenant Saul approached one of the control interfaces. "Can we disable it?" Before Maya could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. On a nearby monitor, she saw dozens of Iron Scale warriors converging on their position. "We've been compromised," she stated flatly. "Options." Saul glanced at the equipment. "We could overload it. The power source appears to be tied directly to volcanic thermal taps. If we reverse the flow, the entire facility would be destroyed," Thrax finished, "along with any Iron Scale within it." Maya hesitated. This was far beyond her mission parameters, a direct military action against a native species. Yet the alternative was potentially worse, leaving the Iron Scale with technology capable of trapping and destroying future human expeditions. Her decision was interrupted by a massive explosion that shook the entire facility. Through the monitor, she watched as a new group entered the conflict. More Deathworlders, but with the distinctive bronze coloration of the Blightclaw faction. "Your people?" she asked Thrax. The massive alien straightened with what might have been pride. "I sent a signal when we entered. The Blightclaw Council agreed this facility must be neutralized." The arrival of Blightclaw reinforcements changed the tactical situation dramatically. The Iron Scale forces were now caught between two enemies, fighting a battle on multiple fronts. "New plan," Maya announced. "We don't need to destroy the facility, just the specific disruption technology. Saul target the modified resonance chamber only. We'll leave the rest of the facility intact for the Blightclaw to secure." As Saul and her team worked to disable the FTL disruption technology, Maya established a defensive perimeter around the laboratory. The sounds of combat echoed through the facility as Blightclaw and Iron Scale forces clashed in the outer corridors. "Captain," Saul called, "we've locked onto the primary control system. But there's a problem. The fail-safes are biometrically linked to Iron Scale physiology. We can't deactivate it without an Iron Scale commander," Thrax finished grimly. "Their highest leadership would have access." Maya considered their options. "Can we capture one?" Before Thrax could respond, the laboratory doors burst open, admitting a massive Deathworlder, unlike any Maya had seen before. Nearly twice Thrax's size, its scales a metallic gray, with crimson highlights, the creature radiated power and authority. Behind it came several Iron Scale warriors' weapons, trained on the human team. "Intruders," the translator rendered its deep, resonant speech. "You disturb sacred technology. Your existence ends here." Maya raised her weapon, knowing it would be little use against such a massive opponent at close range. "We came only to neutralize technology that threatens peaceful contact between our species." The Iron Scale commander made a sound that needed no translation. Dismissive contempt. "Peace is weakness. Strength comes from purity. Your species brings contamination, as do the Blightclaw traders." Thrax stepped forward, its posture one of challenge, despite being significantly smaller than the Ironscale leader. Your ideology blinds you, Vexkar. Zeroth stagnates while the galaxy advances. We cannot remain isolated forever. The commander, Vexkar, seemed amused by Thrax's defiance. When this facility is purged of intruders, the Blightclaw will follow. Your lineage ends today, Thrax of the weak scales. Maya saw their opportunity. While Vexkar was focused on the ideological confrontation with Thrax, she subtly signaled to Lieutenant Sol to continue working on the disruption technology. If they could maneuver Vexkar close enough to the control systems. Your people were once great explorers, Maya interjected, drawing Vexkar's attention. We've found evidence of your ancient technologies throughout this sector. What happened to that spirit of discovery? Vexkar's massive head swiveled toward her eyes, narrowing. The Ancient Ones discovered that other species bring only destruction. We learned from their mistakes. Yet you use our technology, Maya pressed, taking a calculated step that positioned her closer to the control panel. You adapt it, improve it. Is that not a form of exchange? Of learning from others? The massive Deathworlder advanced toward her, its steps shaking the floor. We take what is useful. We discard the rest, including those who delivered it. Just a few more steps. Maya continued the dangerous verbal sparring. And what of your own people who disagree? The Blightclaw represent a significant portion of your species. Will you discard them as well? Weakness must be excised, Vexkar stated flatly, now looming directly over Maya, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from its massive body. As you will now learn. Maya moved with practiced precision, diving aside as Lieutenant Sol activated a localized EMP burst. The pulse, harmless to biological entities, but devastating to electronic systems, caused momentary chaos among the Ironscale forces as their weapons and communication devices failed. In that moment of confusion, Thrax launched itself at Vexkar with ferocious determination. Despite the size disadvantage, the Blightclaw commander's attack drove the larger Deathworlder backward, directly into the biometric scanner that Sol had surreptitiously activated. System accessed, Sol called out triumphantly as the scanner read Vexkar's biological signatures. Initiating shutdown sequence. Vexkar, realizing the trap too late, roared with fury and threw Thrax aside with frightening strength. The Ironscale commander lunged toward the control panel, but Maya was already there, her weapon targeting a specific weak point in the massive alien's natural armor, a vulnerability Dr. Hahn had identified during his examination of Deathworlder physiology. Her shots struck with pinpoint accuracy, and Vexkar stumbled, momentarily incapacitated by pain rather than serious injury. It was enough time for Sol to complete the shutdown sequence, causing the ominous hum of the disruption technology to fade into silence. It's done, Sol announced. The FTL disruptor is offline, and I've uploaded a virus that should prevent it from being reactivated without significant reprogramming. The Ironscale warriors, seeing their leader wounded and their prized technology neutralized, retreated toward secondary exits, their biological camouflage activating as they fled. Vexkar, however, remained its massive form, heaving with barely contained rage. This changes nothing. The translator rendered its threat. Zeroth will never accept outsiders. We will rebuild. We will adapt. And next time your technology will not save you. Maya stood, her ground weapon still trained on the massive alien. There doesn't need to be a next time. Cooperation benefits both our species. The Blightclaw understand this. Vexkar's response was a guttural sound of disgust, before it too retreated, its form shimmering into near invisibility as it disappeared into the depths of the facility. With the immediate threat neutralized, Maya turned her attention to Thrax, who was struggling to rise after Vexkar's powerful blow. "Are you all right?" she asked, approaching the Blightclaw commander. Thrax regained its footing, towering once more over the human team. "I will recover. More importantly, you have succeeded. The disruption technology is neutralized." Maya nodded. But Vexcar escaped. The Ironscale threat remains. As it has for generations, Thrax acknowledged. But today, the balance has shifted. With the disruption technology neutralized, your people can come and go safely. And with each successful contact, the Blightclaw position strengthens. Reports from throughout the facility confirmed that the Blightclaw forces had secured most key areas. The Ironscale had retreated to their strongholds deeper in the volcanic regions, their immediate threat diminished, but not eliminated. As Maya's team prepared to return to their base camp, Thrax approached her with what the translator suggested was formal ceremony. Captain Maya Reyes of Earth. The translator rendered its carefully measured speech. The Blightclaw Council recognizes the debt we owe your people. Your intervention against the Ironscale may have altered the course of Xerath's history. Maya acknowledged the statement with appropriate gravity. We hope this marks the beginning of mutually beneficial relations between our species. Thrax made a gesture that the translator identified as solemn agreement. The path will not be easy. The Ironscale are wounded, but not defeated. They will recover, adapt, and strike again when opportunity presents itself. Then we'll be prepared, Maya replied. Together. The return to Terran Outpost Delta was accompanied by mixed emotions. Maya knew that her decision to disobey direct orders would have consequences for her career. Yet the mission results spoke for themselves. Not only had they neutralized a significant threat to future expeditions, but they had established the first meaningful diplomatic contact with a faction of the Deathworlders. As the expedition prepared for departure from the Xerath system, Maya received a final communication from the surface. Thrax's massive form filled the view screen, the backdrop showing the obsidian landscape now occupied by numerous Blightclaw structures, the beginnings of a more permanent settlement near the former human base camp. The Council has reached a decision, Thrax announced without preamble. We extend formal invitation for Terran presence on Xerath, a permanent outpost for scientific and cultural exchange. Maya couldn't hide her surprise. That's a significant step coming so quickly after first contact. Thrax made what might have been the Deathworlder equivalent of a shrug. The Ironscale force rapid adaptation. We must do the same or risk extinction. Your people have proven yourselves worthy allies, and formidable when necessary. I'll convey your invitation to Earth authorities, Maya promised. I believe they will respond favorably, despite the complications of our initial contact. As the communication ended, Lieutenant Saul approached Maya on the command deck. Orders received from Terran Command Captain. We're to return directly to Earth Station Alpha for mission debrief and review of command decisions. Maya nodded, having expected as much. Status of our modifications to the FTL systems. Complete and functioning within optimal parameters, Saul reported. We're ready to depart on your command. Maya turned her gaze one last time to the view screen, showing Xerath's crimson-tinged surface. What had begun as a standard exploratory mission had evolved into something far more complex, and potentially far more significant for Earth's galactic position. Set course for Earth Station Alpha, she ordered. Standard approach protocols. As Terran Outpost Delta broke orbit and accelerated toward the jump point, Maya reflected on the lessons of Xerath. The Deathworlders had indeed proven themselves apex predators, but not in the ways intelligence had predicted. Their biological camouflage, factional complexities, and technological adaptability made them formidable opponents and potentially valuable allies. More importantly, the mission had demonstrated that sometimes the rigid protocols of Terran exploration needed to yield to the complex realities of first contact. Maya had no regrets about her decisions, regardless of the professional consequences awaiting her return. Behind them, Xerath continued its slow orbit around its distant sun, its surface now host to the beginnings of what might become a new chapter in interspecies relations. And somewhere in the volcanic depths, the Ironscale faction plotted its eventual resurgence, adapting and learning as apex predators always did. The galaxy Maya knew had just become a slightly more complicated place, and humanity would need to adapt accordingly. As Terran Outpost Delta disappeared into the swirling energies of faster-than-light travel, a message transmitted from the surface of Zeroth, not to the departing humans, but to distant stars unknown to Earth's explorers. A simple signal encoded in frequencies no human instrument had yet detected, carrying news of significance beyond human comprehension. The isolation is ended. The testing is complete. They have proven worthy of notice. And in the vast darkness between galactic arms, something ancient stirred in response.